back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Yes, we do.
Get this Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Norma Valfam, joined by Ryan and our special guest, Vanderbilt insider Billy Derrick, again joining us. He joined us earlier for the Vanderbilt football game. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Grade A Grounds. It's a really good coffee for a really good cause. So if you haven't checked them out, check them out. Billy, what's up, man? It's been a while. I know we took care of business for football, but we got a big basketball game coming up.
Yeah, man, I was wondering if y'all were going to ask me, but to come on, but no, man, it's been a wild season to cover Vanderbilt football and basketball. Like, I haven't even been covering them for a year, and there hasn't been a lot of winning. But not tonight, Saturday night should be interesting because I know we'll get into it, but Tennessee, top 10, top 5 team in the country, playing Vandy, a 5-13 team, 0-5 in the SEC. And I know what happened last year with their buzzer beater, but I think a lot of Vanderbilt fans are in a position most fan bases don't usually find themselves in, and encouraging road fans to actually attend the game and potentially take over the arena. And I'm not even sugarcoating it, guys. Like that's what I have heard. And so I am curious and like weirdly excited to see what this will be like Saturday night.
Yeah, Billy, I want to ask you, like, what has Stackhouse done? How has he screwed this up so bad that his own fan base is clamoring for a fan base they hate to take over Memorial Gymnasium?
Well, I mean, from the get-go, I think there was some excitement just because there was a new face in town after Bryce Drew went 0-18 in the conference.
For sure.
Making history. So I think out of the gate, there was a little bit of, okay, former NBA guy, kind of the Deion Sanders effect, like, big name, especially in the basketball world, this guy should be able to recruit, led the G League team to a title with, Fred VanVleet and a lot of talent. So, he had an NBA pedigree, and I think there were some fans that thought there was some potential there. But there were also people, and smarter people than me, because initially I was upbeat and fairly positive about his tenure and what it could look like. Mm-hmm. But there were also other people that basically told themselves from the beginning that it wouldn't work. And I've talked to a lot of those people, and, like I said, I wasn't as negative as a lot of other people, but a lot of the older fans kind of knew from the get-go, this ain't working. He's never coached in college. He's never recruited really. He's an NBA guy. And, it's just mediocre. Like first year, after an 0-18 season, you didn't expect much. And then year 2 wasn't a ton better. Year 3 is when they got a little bit better. They had a really, really good Scottie Pippen player leading the charge. They got a veteran transfer, Rodney Chapman. They had some pieces, but I think they went 7-11 in the league. And then like we saw what happened last year, right? I mean, this is the game that started it all for Vandy last year.
Yeah, Billy, Vanderbilt should have made the tournament last year, and I've been saying that since then.
Yeah, no, and a lot of people, a lot of Tennessee fans, a lot of other SEC fans thought the same because SEC teams saw how Vanderbilt was playing late in the season. And me watching the games and going to games, felt like the atmosphere had kind of come back a little bit. But this offseason was weird, guys. They lost Miles Studi. They lost Jordan Wright. They lost Quentin Malore-Brown, who, wasn't the best player, but it was a great role player. They lost Liam Robbins to the NBA. But you get Magnon and Lawrence back. They were hyping them up to be the best backcourt in the conference. And, they've been okay, but they don't have anybody around them. There's just not enough. And I think this has been a culmination of the lack of recruiting and the lack of retention, and also the lack of aggressiveness in the portal. I mean, guys, you guys saw it firsthand bringing in Dalton Knecht. What a decision and what a get for Rick Barnes in Tennessee. Vandy just hasn't really done that. And Stackhouse, made an excuse after the Ole Miss game. I don't know if you guys saw it. I made sure to tweet it out. He said it in the post-game radio show. It's almost like he didn't think anybody would catch it. You know, it's in the post-game radio show. I'll just kind of sneak this out. He basically admitted that the administration doesn't allow junior and senior transfers to Vanderbilt. I'm like, that's the biggest lie. He got Ezra Manjon as a senior transfer,
What?
you know, couple years ago. And now, yes, granted, he hasn't gotten a lot of them. And I think there's a little bit of truth to it. But overall, like the women's team they got a transfer from Tennessee. I think a junior, maybe a sophomore, but like they have gotten transfers. The football team has had an influx of transfers this offseason. It was an excuse. I mean, it was an excuse. Like I said, there's a little bit of truth to it, but that's the point, I think. And that might have ruffled some feathers in the administration. He's blaming the administration, right?
Yeah.
When, you know, he should be blaming himself. But that's the biggest problem here, himself. It's all about, and again, I'm to the point where I'm not really sugarcoating anything. It's all about Stackhouse in this program. You know, he's had really good coaches leave his staff because they didn't have a voice. You know, he was kind of stepping on them constantly. And so there's a lot, Ryan. But honestly, man, like he hasn't done enough recruiting and he hasn't retained his freshmen. I mean, I can't even tell you. I think it's over 15 or 16 freshmen that have ended up, you know, leaving after their first or second year. So they just don't have a culture, no player retention, and not enough investment from the top down.
Yeah. Well, you see how well Jordan Wright is playing for LSU. You see how much Stewie is contributing to South Carolina and their success this year. I mean, he can get the talent, but like you said, he can't retain them. And I wonder if that's because of, you know, he started in the NBA, right, in the G League. He has a whole organization to back him up when he's not really the head man over everything. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I agree. You know, and that's, like you said, that's all he knows. That all he knows is the NBA. So part of it, you know, it's hard to put a ton on him because he was put in a tough spot. He was hired by Malcolm Turner, the G League president, who is Vanderbilt's athletic director for like 6 months. And then Candace Lee was hired. She kept him on. And so there's a lot there. I've heard a lot, you know, through the grapevine, you know, whether it's drama between player and coach, or, you know, coach and fan, or coach and Twitter. I think most fans are just sick and tired of it, to be honest. So, no, you're right though. All he knows is the NBA, and he has never really adjusted to the college game and the intense recruiting that is going on, especially now in the NIL and portal era.
Yeah, for sure. Jim, I don't know if you remember this from last year's basketball season, but we after we lost to Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, people were all losing their minds. And Rick Barnes went on to say the following week, or even that same night, that people underestimate Vanderbilt, but Jerry Stackhouse is one of the best X's and O's coaches in the SEC. But it's like we just talked about, he cannot run a program as well as he can coach on the floor, and I think that's his downfall.
Yeah, and going into this game, the way Tennessee's been playing, I don't care how good you are at X and O's, the talent that Tennessee has, how deep Tennessee is, this would be a major loss for Tennessee if they lost. I don't see them losing. I think you guys said before, what was it, 95% on the analytics side of things? Yeah. But
yeah, Tennessee, according to ESPN Analytics, has a 95% chance to win.
Yeah, and I still think, you know, they're giving them the benefit of the doubt, which is that 5%, and it's on the road. But, I mean, we all know, and like Billy said earlier, that they're encouraging Tennessee fans to go to this game, and they are going to show up. There's going to be plenty there. I don't know how many. I don't know if we'll fill the stadium, but there's going to be a lot of them, and I think this will be a big beatdown and a payback for last year.
Yeah. I mean, last year was so painful for Tennessee fans. It was the first time you had lost to Vanderbilt since the 2016-2017 season. I mean, So it was not something that we were used to. I was in college from 17 to 21 at Tennessee and did not see us lose to Vanderbilt once. But it would be nice to get some payback on them, Jim. Sorry, Billy.
No, guys, I don't blame you. And especially with Rick Barnes, he has some motivation now. Like last year, what was the motivation? I mean, yeah, you're playing in Memorial Gym, but it's not like it was, Ryan, in the last decade, really, these games haven't been anticipated. It's kind of been the same thing with football. Like, and from the Tennessee fan side, I'm sure you guys would love to see Vanderbilt, actually put up a respectable product on the floor and on the football field. Obviously,
I don't know about that, Billy. I mean, I'd be fine with where y'all are at right now.
Well, what I'm getting at is that, like, because this is boring. Like, right? Like, I mean, if you're a Tennessee fan
boring.
going to the, and so I see either way. Honestly, I would like for baseball, right? Put baseball into perspective. Tennessee sucked for a long, long time in baseball, right? They had a good period there when Helton was there and Chris Burke and those guys made a trip to Omaha. But for a while, Tennessee was awful. Vanderbilt had been, it was boring. Like, yeah, they were still, I guess, a rivalry, but you didn't get up for those games. And then Tennessee got good, and part of me was like, uh-oh, here comes Tennessee kicking down the back door. But the other part of me was like, man, okay, this is a little fun. I'm not the 13-year-old diehard fan I used to be anymore. So a lot of it for me now is that I just want to see fun atmospheres, and teams hating each other, I just don't think you get that a ton anymore between Vandy and Tennessee, especially football and basketball.
I mean, Billy, I'm sure you have the calendar marked for our series in Nashville in baseball this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be there. I'll be there.
It's been what, 10 games in a row now?
Yep. And guys, Vanderbilt fans are kind of hanging on by a thread.
I could see why. I mean,
yeah, the Vanderbilt's marquee sport, Tennessee, is on a winning streak against them, and I mean, it's got to be maddening.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like this is a big year. We said this last year, right? I said coming into the series last year that Vanderbilt has revenge on their mind. They get swept again by Tennessee, and I thought that Friday night game last year was the series. After Tennessee won that, I mean, those 2 home runs, just unbelievable with 1 out or 2 outs, right?
Yeah, it was 2 outs
in the 9th. So you just got to kind of tip your cap, and we'll see what happens. I think this year, I'm already, like most Vandy fans are already looking forward to that. I think the pitching staffs are great. The question is, does Tennessee offensively end up winning it? But that tells you where fans are at. Vandy fans are at. They're already talking about baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what y'all do, I guess. I mean,
yeah,
sounds like Kentucky fans.
But getting back to basketball, guys. So Billy, what is the scenario? I mean, obviously, there's obvious things in basketball that you do to improve your chances of winning. Don't turn it over, guard 3-point line, get to the free throw line, all that. But what's something that you see other than those cliche answers that Vanderbilt can do to maybe make this game close or even pull out a win?
Well, they have to make at least 10 threes. I'd probably even say maybe upwards of 15. And if they do that, this team can be sneaky. Like they held Alabama pretty tight at home this year. Auburn handled them, but Auburn's really good. So yeah, they just haven't proven any consistency from deep. Like they've got some decent shooters, but they had Colin Smith go down for the season with an ACL a few weeks ago. And so there's just no consistency. I would say that though. And you're in Memorial, right? So Memorial Gym is probably, even though it'll be essentially a home game for Tennessee, just the simple fact of playing in, as strange of a gym, and Vanderbilt's probably a little bit more comfortable than Tennessee playing there. That's probably 3 or 4 points, even though it won't feel like it, I mean, this is going to feel like it's in Knoxville. But it's still,
Sorry, Billy. I want to mention, Jim, you are in for one of the weirdest venues in college basketball. This is basically a concert hall.
Yeah, I looked at pictures and stuff, and I'm like, I even told my wife, I was like, dang, that gym, it looks like a just very old, I don't know, decrepit type place to go. But
The thing about it though is that when it's rocking like it was in the Bruce Pearl versus Kevin Stallings days,
Yep.
it can get loud as piss, but hopefully the loudness will be coming from Tennessee fans this game.
well, like you said, Billy, I mean, who knows how many show up? Being in the middle of the state, pretty much, I just see a lot of Tennessee fans being there, but ticket prices. We talked about this earlier. Who knows on how many will show up? But it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to go. I'm excited to see the Vols play just in general. So
it's a really cool. Ryan talked about it. You can say whatever you want about it, but it is really cool because it feels like a stage. Because I was actually talking to a former player a week ago, and he said that playing on the floor, it's like it's easier to shoot in there because they have spotlights up top that are kind of just pointed on the floor and on each goal, and they kind of darken the rest of the arena. And it's theater style. I've always loved watching games there just because it is so different. And it does get loud. It's fairly compact. It seats over 14,000, but it's pretty loud. And so I think there's going to be at least 8,000 Tennessee fans, maybe, and probably honestly likely upwards of 9,000.
How many does it hold?
Just 14,000.
Oof.
So but think about it. There's so many Tennessee fans in Nashville. And there's probably people in Nashville that'll just decide to wear orange, and throw on a Tennessee shirt or something because they want to watch Dalton Connect and, see a top 5 team in the country. Like Nashville's a big sports town. So I think you'll get some casual sidewalk people that decide to go kind of last minute. But guys, I know at least 3 or 4 of my buddies that have decided to go just because they've been, they want to go and they've been kind of rejuvenated by this team with Dalton Connect. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to is watching Dalton Connect. Cause I mean, does Vanderbilt even have anyone that could cover this kid?
Does anyone have any?
Does anyone? Yeah. I mean, he is the most unique player I've ever seen. Like who do you put on and who does anybody put on him? I don't think Vandy does. They'll probably switch defenses up a lot. Stack does that when he plays against better teams. And I'll say this, guys, like from the Vandy side, Stack does some weird stuff when he knows he is at a talent disadvantage. And that's why, like, they beat Kentucky at Rupp last year when nobody expected it. In the past, they've knocked off teams in spots where you go, how did that just happen? So he's known to pull rabbits out of the hat. I don't think he has the talent to. And I think if Tennessee plays well and like they've been playing, this could be a 30-point win. Like I firmly believe that. But yeah, on Dalton Connect, I don't think Vandy has anybody that can guard him, and he makes it look so easy. But even then, guys, if Dalton Connect has 15 or 20, Tennessee could still blow Vandy out. Like that's the thing about Dalton Connect. Vescovy could go off for 15 or 20. Jordan James, Gainey had almost 20 against Alabama. So they've got so much depth that I think is the scariest part about them. Do they have as much depth as Auburn? I don't know. But at the end of the day, guys, Dalton Connect is a star. And I, like you said, I'm genuinely excited to watch him just as a basketball fan,
Yeah, just being in the crowd, being able to watch, that in person. And then not only that is, in my opinion, we have the best big man in the country. Or not the country. Sorry, take that back. Best big man in the SEC.
He's very underrated.
Oh, yeah. This dude could score. He blocks almost every shot that comes in if he doesn't get called for stupid fouls. But, Jonas Adu is going to be a problem too. So it's you get to watch all these kids play and, one day, like Dalton Connect's easily going to be a lottery pick if he keeps it up. So,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's SEC Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. He's on a historic scoring run in the SEC and for Tennessee's program, a program that has had the likes of Bernard King and Chris Lofton. So this guy's a player. It's bottom line.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Billy.
Guys, he's so hard to guard. Like, what do you can throw a zone on boxing one maybe, but at the end of the day, he's going to get his shot off. And that's what scares me the most, not only against Vandy, but against really anybody, even Kentucky. Like, does Kentucky have a guy mature and physical enough to guard him? I don't think so. Auburn, maybe, with the Williams kid, Jalen Williams, who's really good. But guys, that's what this is going to come down to. If Dalton Connect and their shooters light it up, this could get ugly.
Yeah. And then as good as, we haven't even mentioned Rick Barnes' calling card yet for his programs, the defense. Tennessee turned over Alabama 23 times against Alabama. And that led to a bunch of points just off turnovers. I mean, when you combine as good as our offense is this year with, how good our defense always is, Tennessee is a juggernaut.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like I said earlier, if Tennessee just plays a game like they did against Alabama, I don't see. There's not a lot of teams that could beat them in the SEC, especially this year. Talking about this year, I mean, you got Auburn. I'm not even gonna. Well, Kentucky can beat them. I hate to tell Tennessee fans, but it can happen. But South Carolina's shocking a lot of people. They look pretty good. I mean, I know they were home, but still, I mean, they beat Kentucky by a lot. And, you got plenty of teams in this league this year that can do something. So that's always good to see, especially coming from an SEC fan.
Yeah. The league for the last 5 or 6 years has been incredible. I mean, I don't think there's any question that it's the best the SEC has been this consistently, top to bottom, in basketball. It's just team after team. If you're on the road or not, you're gonna have to fight to get wins in this conference now. Guys, I want to get y'all's opinion on last night, beginning of the Alabama Auburn game. They kept the damn lights off for 30 seconds before anybody noticed. I mean, really?
Well, what was funny is I'm like sitting down at the dinner table eating dinner while I'm watching this game, and I did a double take because I was like, "Are they playing with the lights off?"
Yeah,
and they did.
I think it tells you that they need a new arena. I mean, that's embarrassing. Like how does that happen? Like, is there nobody? Like, usually I don't know if the people stay up there. I don't know what the setup is, but that's pretty embarrassing if you're Greg Byrne in Alabama to have I know it was only 10 minutes, but that should never happen. And I'm with you. Like, I turned it on and I was fired up to watch it. And I see the first shot go down. After that first shot, I'm like, wait, is this like a new style? Like, this looks way too dark. And I was like, are they doing something new? Because I know the NBA, like, they keep it pretty dark, but that was way too dark. And it was a red tint to it as well. I was really confused. And then ESPN kept it on the game. Like, they were just interviewing Jalen Milroe for like 8 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I was so tired of that.
Awful TV with Ravitch and Jay Williams. Jay Williams is, I don't know why they ever put him calling college basketball games.
He's an NBA in-studio analyst and just randomly shove him into SEC basketball.
Yeah, he had a ridiculous comment, and I know he had fun with it after tossing Nate Oates tossed him a tennis ball because he said Alabama's Coleman Coliseum. This feels like a tennis match. It was like November, and they're playing. I don't even know, like William and Mary,
Clemson.
Like,
Clemson.
What do you? Yeah, Clemson. Like, what are you talking about? So these analysts, especially ESPN, like anytime's a game on ESPN, I usually get excited until I turn it on and see who's calling the game, and I'm like, a lot of these analysts are just trying to They're just trying to make hot takes and make, get the clicks, make money. It's all about clips now, little 30-second to a minute clips on Twitter. And, if you can get one of those that looks good, then do it. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
the best thing that ESPN could get for the marquee matchup of the week in the SEC was an NBA in-studio analyst and a baseball announcer. Good job.
Yeah. Like, I've always liked Tom Hart, right? Like
Tom Hart's the best.
Yeah. Like throw Tom Hart in there.
And Jimmy Dykes.
Jimmy Dykes but there's a lot of good ones. Like I like Dane Bradshaw a lot.
VFL.
Yeah. VFL. I mean,
but I just don't get the logic behind Jay Williams. Like that's stupid. I
don't either. And I think part of it might have been, okay, I don't know if Jay wanted to or if ESPN made the decision to say, hey, we're going to send you here. This is going to be an incredible atmosphere. There's going to be some good stuff coming out of this because you called that atmosphere a tennis match earlier. So I think there's probably a little bit of that to it.
Yeah. Guys, final thoughts before we move on to some more topics on this Tennessee Vanderbilt game. Jim?
Honestly, it's one of those games where it's just like, man, I expect Tennessee to win by 30, but like anything below 20, it's a disappointment. And that's just me. I don't really have any topics, but it's just, that's what I'm thinking.
So you're expecting to win big time, which I think that's very fair.
I expect to win by 20. That's what I expect. Now, I'm not saying we're going to walk out with a 40-point win. I'm just saying.
Yeah. To me, I think I said it last week, Jim, in our last episode, whenever it was, when Bryce asked us, do you see any, are you scared at all of this game? And I mentioned the 2019 game where Tennessee was freshly ranked number 1, and we had to go to overtime. Grant Williams had to have the best performance of his career. Yeah. And then you go back a decade before that, after we were freshly number 1 again, after beating Memphis on the road, and we lose Memorial not 48 hours later. So anything is possible, but I think Jim is right that the expectation for Tennessee fans should be a 20-point win. Those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, for me, the first factor you have to look at is the revenge factor with Tennessee last year. I mean, all Rick Barnes has to do is show the clip of Lawrence's game winner all week. Yep. And you got to think about it. Both these teams have the week off, so both teams will be prepared. That's why it's hard for me to confidently say it's going to be a 30-point win or whatever, because Vandy just weirdly doesn't let that happen. But
yeah.
I can. This year's different because I can. Number one, the revenge factor, like I said. Number two, just the excitement, like the buzz from the fans and the confidence that'll give to the players in a road environment, but you're in Nashville, right? So I think that, the players walk out to it, whether it's, 40, 30 minutes to warm up before the game. There's going to be an initial jolt of, okay, this is going to be fun tonight, for if you're wearing orange. Yeah. I think that'll help them. And I'm with you guys. I'd be surprised if Tennessee doesn't win this by 25 or 30 points. And, for Vandy, you got to make at least 12 to 15 threes to have a shot. And even if you do, Tennessee's good enough to still beat you. So I don't know. I think the line here will probably be, Ryan, I don't know what you think, but I was thinking at least like 22, 23, maybe even at least like in the 20s. I mean, I know. Yeah.
I was thinking more like 14 and a half or something like that.
No, I think I think with the way these line people work, man, they're going to make it to where it's like people are going to be putting money on Vandy with the plus points, but it ends up being, so I agree. I said 17 and a half earlier. That's what I want. That's what I would take that in a heartbeat. But I agree. I think 24, 25 is what they'll end up putting. And a lot of people will take that, and Tennessee will end up winning by like 23 or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, I think for a Tennessee sports fan, this was easily the biggest news of the week. And y'all may be surprised by what I think about what the biggest news was, because there's been a lot of things that happened for Tennessee sports this week. But Todd Helton is the second player in SEC history to be inducted into the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well deserved.
Does that not surprise both of you?
Well, you're talking about the second in SEC history?
Yes.
Yes, that surprised me because, I mean, it feels like we had a lot of talent in our history to where only two. Todd Helton, well deserved though. I mean, he's the best Rocky of all time. So
I mean, it's Frank Thomas and Todd Helton. That's it from the SEC.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible because the SEC has been touted as the best baseball conference in the country forever. And, you know, a lot of the older people I talk to, you know, they go back and mention, you know, Thunder and Lightning at Mississippi State with Palmeiro and Will Clark, but Palmeiro was using steroids, right? So, you know, he was kind of caught up in that. Will Clark was really good like the first few years of his pro career, but kind of fell off a little bit. So yeah, it's crazy. A lot, like you think about the SEC and their reputation, a lot of them are just really good in college. Like Jake Mangum, for example, at Mississippi State. You know, he hasn't even really translated in the big leagues yet. He's been there, I think, in the minors for 3 or 4 years. I mean, there's been a lot, guys. I do think down the road, like, I mean, you know, for Tennessee could Ben Joyce turn himself into a Hall of Famer. Could, you know, Drew Gilbert, like, you know, Tennessee's got a ton of talent that has been through that program the last few years. Same with Vandy. Does like Dansby Swanson turn himself into a Hall of Famer? David Price.
Yeah, that's the name that I was thinking, Billy. Do you think he has a shot?
It's too early. I just like the name itself really pops, you know. I don't know that his pro career, because we think college, right? We're college people. We think, you know, he was a damn good college player, but I don't know if he was a good enough pro pitcher. And, you know, longevity is a big thing too. Like a lot of the older players just lasted so much longer than players do now, or at least in the last 10, 15 years. So yeah, I don't know. I think Price probably has the best shot. But then I look at Swanson probably, you know, decently if he starts to hit the ball a little bit better, because he's a great defender. But yeah, I think Vandy or Tennessee, I know you guys got Todd Helton, but I think both these programs in the next 20 or so years will probably get a Hall of Famer. I mean, you know, two of the better baseball programs in the country right now.
Yeah. I think
I completely agree.
I think like it just speaks more to how hard it is to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a joke of an organization, but
you get all these old writers, you know, that have been there forever, probably going on 80, 90 years old, a lot of those guys, you know, so they, you know, they favor, that's why a lot of these guys, it takes them long, because a lot of the voters are so old. And so they just, it takes them a little bit to finally get to that player. That's why it took, like Todd Helton probably should have been in the Hall of Fame by now. You know,
this was his 3 years ago. This was 6th or 7th year on the ballot.
So I mean, that tells you. And Todd Helton, and there were still some doubts, like, I don't know, is this the year? You know, so really happy for him. And glad, you know, he just representing the state, you know, as a whole, and obviously big for their program. You know, you can kind of start to sell that. So
you're now one of 2 SEC programs to tout a Baseball Hall of Famer. So
yeah, Tennessee and Auburn. Who would have thought?
Yeah, do with that what you will, Tony. The second biggest news of the week in my eyes: George McIntyre, committed to the Vols. Jim, how much does that mean to the Tennessee football program?
Oh man, it's huge. I mean, the fact that Tennessee goes from Nico Iamaleava to that'll be a later topic to talk about that. But I mean, Jake Merklinger, Slinger, whatever you want to call him, very underrated. And then George McIntyre. I mean, he's another one, kind of like Boo Carter, where a lot of kids want to play with him. You got the tight end. I can't say his last name, but I'll call him Jack. I mean, the kid's a beast on the offensive side. You know, you got kids like Marcus Harris, 5-star out of California, that's talking about teaming up with him. I mean, I'm sure Billy can agree that it's Tennessee. It sounds like the sleeping giant might be starting to wake up a little bit. It's huge. George McIntyre is just going to be a recruiting machine. You can see it on Twitter. He tweets at everybody trying to get them to come to Tennessee, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Great,
absolutely.
great get. I mean, I've seen him play a lot actually, and he had a tough high school year last year. Actually, I think his team went like 1-8.
It was
or
not
something like that. And I think they actually won a playoff game and then ended up losing in the second round. But they made a coaching change, and so they'll be a lot better this year. I think it'll be more fun to watch him in his senior season for Tennessee fans. But yeah, he's 6'6", very slim. He'll have to get in the weight room like every freshman, but similar to Nico, the same build. Obviously not, I don't know if I'd say as much hype. He's still got his senior year to play, but, in state-wise, like locally, this is a massive get because, guys, think back. I don't know if y'all know this. His grandfather actually coached at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Billy, if that chaps your ass just a little bit.
Well, I knew this was going to happen. Somebody told me he was coming to Tennessee like 5-6 months ago. So I think he's been pretty locked in.
Yeah.
So it's worn off. But yeah, initially I think Vanderbilt people thought, okay, you can kind of sell your grandfather, come kind of continue that legacy. Like they had some good teams under his grandfather. 1982 team was pretty good. But yeah, that it's kind of a sign of the times, to be honest. I think a lot of Vanderbilt people, like the diehards aren't happy about him going to Tennessee, but I think there's just the more realistic fans know, that's the situation you're in. And I think he's a little bit different. His dad, I think, kind of groomed him to be a Tennessee fan. Because his dad, they grew up in Tennessee. His uncle is Mike McIntyre, who coaches at FIU right now.
Yep. Former Colorado coach.
Yeah. So local kid. And, he just like if Josh Heupel isn't at Tennessee, maybe he goes to Vandy, like if Tennessee still, for some odd reason, still had Jeremy Pruitt, maybe Vandy has a shot. But Josh Heupel and his rapport with quarterbacks, like, if he wants a quarterback, man, he's going to get it. He's got a way of selling quarterbacks, his vision. And good timing. I think it's a great get. And, I think he'll be in there in 2026, because Nico's not going to be there for 4 years. So
yeah, I think you got two more years of Nico if everything goes how we want it to go.
Yeah. 3 years of college for Nico. And then McIntyre goes in there after a couple of years of sitting out.
Yeah. So things are looking up. I think it's really important to get him locked down in the very early in the cycle for the recruiting class. I think, and Bryce mentioned it last week, that it matters that he's also the number one player in Tennessee. That's always something that you want to do, is lock down your borders. So Tennessee fans should be very happy about that. We got some other big news, and if you listen to the podcast, I kind of let everybody know that VolQuest was on top of this, but Javonte Spraggins is officially coming back for another year, which is gigantic.
Big.
Yeah, this Tennessee offensive line's really starting to look really intense. We got one spot, probably the left guard, that's kind of just needs to be filled. Throughout the spring, we'll see, if someone steps up or maybe they snag another one. I still think Tennessee needs 1 to 2 more offensive linemen for, depth purposes. But Tennessee's offensive line, having Hurd on the left side, Campbell on the right, Spraggins, Cooper Mays, it's very, very good offensive line to have.
Yeah. I think if you're going to have to be searching for a spot, whether it be during spring practice or if you don't find one then in the spring transfer portal period, guard is the spot you want to be looking for. It's a lot easier to find a guard than a bookend tackle. So I still think we're in a great spot with the offensive line going into next year.
Um,
Billy, you have any thoughts on our offensive line?
No, I agree with you. Actually, it's easier to find guards, than tackles. Like Vandy got a guy from Mississippi State who'll probably play guard for him. So yeah, if you can lock down those guards, it's not easy to do that. I saw that he's coming back for his super senior season. So, you're starting to get some kids on Tennessee, not just offensive linemen, that you can tell they like Josh Heupel and they want to stay, under his leadership for as long as they can. I know they had a lot of transfers in the secondary, but quite frankly, that needed to happen. Their secondary has been awful.
Trust me, we have driven that point into the ground. It's kind of disingenuous to shit on the secondary all year and then be mad when half of them leave. I was thrilled. So
exactly. So, if you're a Tennessee fan, I think there's still back of your mind, okay, we lost all, like, who you're going to replace them with. I think most secondary, like every fan of a college football team in the country, other than maybe Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and maybe Alabama, but maybe not anymore, hates their secondary. Like there's just, like, think about it. I mean, like talking ball with your buddy who's a Bama fan or an Ole Miss fan, everybody says their secondary sucks. So that's just that's part of college football, man. That's where it's going. Everybody's throwing the football, and if you're Tennessee, you're in a good spot because you can do that. You've got Nico. Not everybody can say that. So, yeah, Spraggins, big get for Tennessee to retain. They got Mays back too, right?
Yeah, Mays, Spraggins, and John Campbell are all back, and then we added Hurd from LSU.
Added Hurd. So, yeah, I mean, I know there was a lot of negativity around that offensive line this year for Tennessee.
Unwarranted, in my opinion. Unwarranted.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I think, was Joe Milton. You had, not to put it on his shoulders, but I mean, he was not the best orchestrator of that offense.
Jim,
and I don't know why. I never understood Josh Heupel's fascination with him.
Oh my God, Jim, this is such great news. Billy is woke. He's woke about Joe Milton.
Dude, so I mean, Ryan will tell you, I was probably the biggest Joe Milton supporter throughout the season. I tried to be as positive as I could. And you know what? 8-4, I'm not terribly mad at it. I mean, it's not bad. Like, I'd rather go 8-4
It
than
could have been a lot worse this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I started scratching my head though after this bowl game. And I mean, Iowa top 5 defense, and you're telling me that Nico wasn't prepared or wasn't ready or whatever you want to call it. There's no shot. You can't tell me, and I know Billy, you agree. I know Ryan agrees. You can't tell me he wasn't ready.
Yeah, guys. And Tony, we had Tony on the Plaster Show, and he talked about it, and he was like, he couldn't believe it. Like, he was like, how does he look that good? And you stuck with Milton for the whole season, basically. And you didn't even put Nico in red zone situations. Tennessee was awful in the red zone this year.
Yes,
Nico
we
scored
touchdown.
3. I mean, Nico had 4 rushing touchdowns, all within the 15, 20-yard line. So I was thinking the same thing. Like, I know, but I put my realistic goggles on and said, okay, I think Josh Heupel is smart enough. Heupel's not an idiot, right? He's a smart guy. And I think as fans, you get rattled and you get, your thoughts are moving 1,000 miles per hour. But I think he wanted to keep the locker room and get to that at least 8-win mark. If you put Nico in there, he could get rattled, throw a pick 6. You just never know. Like, could Nico have won in Gainesville?
Yes.
I think so.
Could Nico? Yeah. Okay. Could Nico have? Could Nico have won in Tuscaloosa against Alabama?
Yes.
If you give him that halftime lead.
Yeah. If same halftime lead, yes, he would have won.
So you're just sitting there, and I think Heupel's probably asking a lot of the same things. Yeah, that bowl game looked good. Yeah. I would have liked to seen a non-Big Ten. I mean, when's the last time Tennessee didn't play a Big Ten game in a Florida bowl game? I know they
Orange
you
Bowl,
know, they
I guess. Yeah.
Orange
Says
Bowl,
what-
yeah, but that as kind of the outlier, and they still beat
Yeah.
Clemson. But Tennessee's been really good in their history, even under Butch Jones in bowl games.
Yeah.
But it's almost like they always play Big Ten teams. So I would have liked to see Tennessee against like imagine Tennessee Oklahoma.
Yes.
In a
Well,
bowl
we will
this
see
year.
that.
You will, but I would have liked to have seen. Okay, what does Tennessee have against a team that really matches up with them offensively? I mean, Iowa was atrocious.
Yeah, it was
offensively.
disgusting.
So yeah, I'm ready. I'm that Oklahoma game.
And you'll probably agree with what I'm about to say. That Oklahoma game is the Florida game from this past year, and to me, it is the key game on your schedule. You win that game, the sky's the limit. If you lose it, then it's like, okay, are we going to lose 3 or 4 this year? That's what everyone's mentality will go to. But if you win that game, there's a great possibility you're going into Alabama, or Alabama's coming to you, and you're undefeated. So
the battle of the young quarterbacks, Ryan Jackson Arnold against Nico. Josh Heupel going back to Oklahoma. I mean, if game day's not there, I don't know what they're doing, because that's going to be an unreal atmosphere. There's probably going to be a lot of orange there. I'm already ready for that one.
Yeah. Going back to the Nico talk, I mean, that is the game of the year before I move on. Hands down, the most important game. But going back to the Nico versus Joe Milton talk, I maintained since the Texas A&M game, Alabama game, basically, that Nico needed to be the starting quarterback, because I just felt that 8-4 with a 6th-year quarterback was not worth it when you have somebody that you can start to develop now. But yeah, go ahead, Jim.
The whole red shirt thing is mind baffling to me, because Nico, if you think he's this good, which he is, he's not going to be here for that long.
Exactly.
Like, you're just saving it as pretty much if he got injured. That's literally what they're keeping it for. But it's like, let's pray to God that doesn't happen, first of all. But second of all, like, he's going to be here for 2 years max. And, like, the whole red shirt thing is mind-boggling. Like, it's just, I don't know. What I'm kind of thinking is, do you think maybe Nico's parents had something to do with it? Or, like, was it a plan to keep him, like...
Probably.
That's what I think. Maybe it was like a family thing where they were just like, hey, let him sit for a year, let him get, the offense and all this stuff, and then go. But, like, I don't know.
But it was also strategic to, like, maybe playing in the bowl game was a part of it. Because I heard that the Tennessee staff sort of nudged Milton to opt out, and go ahead and declare. And so I think that was part of it, and really smart, like recruiting purposes, portal purposes. Heupel knows how important the portal is.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get a portal kid, just throw on the tape of the whatever that bowl was. I don't even.
Well, you hear all the recruits saying how they got one of the best quarterbacks in the country on that team. Like, who wouldn't want to play
I mean,
for
guy,
him?
if Nico doesn't play in that bowl game, do they get the LSU offensive lineman? Do they get
Probably not?
Chris Brazel? Do they like? I think that was a very calculated move by Heupel in Tennessee, and credit to him.
And I think it was that Florida game. I think you lose that Florida game, and Heupel started to think, hey, this might not be the year to be playing around with this stuff, and maybe he wasn't ready for all that. I get it, but it's still, we'll never know. The world will never know when it comes to all that.
What we can hope is that time of him sitting behind Milton will lead to better things for him in the future. I mean, I think treating him with kid gloves could potentially have been the right move, but it's kind of frustrating to kind of throw away a season that you could have wanted at minimum 2 more games in. So,
well, still, I mean, fun fact. I mean, it seems like it worked. I mean, he's 6 favorited on the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, that's crazy for a freshman. I mean, I get
for Heisman.
Yeah. I mean, you know how crazy Tennessee would get if that happened. Like,
I I don't give a shit about the Heisman.
I'll get him a picture and put it on my bedroom wall. I don't even care. Like, it's gonna be a picture of him holding that thing. You know, like get it signed or something. I don't know. I'll lose my mind.
Here's what he should do if he were to be announced the Heisman winner in New York that night. He should say, "Fuck y'all." Throw it on the ground and say, "This is for 97," and then walk out.
This is for the sheriff.
Yeah.
But
That's
anyway,
Who
What
y'all
is it,
got
Billy?
tonight? Who y'all got tonight? South Carolina or LSU?
Ladies talk.
I don't know what it is, but I think LSU.
It's at. Is it at LSU?
It's
Yes.
at LSU, yeah.
No, give me Angel Reese all day. She's got
And-
to work on them.
And Haley Van Smythe,
Yeah.
the Heerman. But
Yeah,
anyways,
Go ahead.
I do want to, before we end it here, I do want to get everyone's predictions for this game Saturday. You know, explain your thoughts. Last thing, and we'll let our guest go first. The soon to be full on committed Vol fan.
I got Tennessee big. I'm gonna go 87-75. I mean, like I said, I don't think I think Vandy will score because they're at home and the magic, and I don't see them winning. I'll go 87-72, something like that.
That's
All right.
respectable.
All right.
That's realistic too. Like something that would happen.
Yeah.
My reason behind this score is Vols better. We're gonna have most of the crowd. We're at least half the building is going to be orange. You could take that to the bank. I would bet my mortgage on that. Yeah. So, with that being said, I think from what I've seen from Vanderbilt this year, they struggled to score. You know, much over 60 in a lot of games. So I'm going to go Tennessee makes it more of a half-court game because I think that's Vanderbilt's only chance to win is to run up and down the court. So I'm going to go with Tennessee 74, Vanderbilt 57.
See, I think you're downplaying it here. Tennessee's offense has been ridiculous, pretty much.
Dalton
for
Connect
our
and a
standards.
shooter's gym.
Yeah, for our standards, I seriously, I'd be shocked if we don't score 80. But I'm thinking 89 to like 64. I think Tennessee, man, their defense is just they suffocate teams, man. I mean, look at Alabama, and Billy, you said it. If they don't hit 15 threes, 10 threes, you know, it's gonna be a runaway game here. But we held Alabama, one of the best 3-point shooting teams, to barely any. And as long as Tennessee comes to play and doesn't say, "Oh, it's Vanderbilt," they're not gonna. It's a revenge game. You go in, whoop that ass, go back home. So I think it's going to be a 89-64. So
yeah, I agree. This should be a route. Billy, if you want to leave your media row and come visit us in 2G Row 9, me, Jim, and Bryce will be there.
I will.
Right behind the students.
I'll do that. We'll get some content for the old X machine, and yeah, looking forward to it. I'll be there, guys. I'll be there early. Like I said, I'm weirdly excited. It's pretty rare you get excited for a Vanderbilt sporting event anymore. I mean, to be honest, but this could be an implosion that forces the Vanderbilt administration to react. Not saying there'll be a change mid-season, but this could be sort of the tip of the iceberg for the Stackhouse era. So, like I said earlier, I'm weirdly excited for this. Number one, I know a lot of people that'll be going. I'm gonna try to say hi to you guys. I got a bunch of buddies going, and just to see, kind of, hey, this is a chance to maybe feel what TBA feels like, Thompson Bowling Arena. I've been there once, but
there you go.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me, and I'll see y'all Saturday night.
If you want, just shout out your stuff real quick.
Yeah, so Plaster Show weekdays 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time. Anywhere you can watch it on YouTube, on your phone, or Twitter. We got a bunch of live tweets going throughout the day, and so we also are on Facebook as well, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then VandySports.com, their rival site, founded in 2003. So they're the premier Vanderbilt coverage out there. And I don't know if you guys subscribe to Tennessee's Rivals board, but go over to Vandy's Rivals board. There's some interesting some interesting takes on the Stackhouse era and what they are anticipating Saturday night, and maybe some evidence that fans are selling their tickets to the school out east, as they say. So, but yeah, no, that's where you can find me, and looking forward to seeing what happens Saturday.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you coming on again.
Thanks, guys.
All right, go Vols.
Go Vols. And again, we appreciate our sponsors, Grade A Grounds, great coffee for a great cause. Go make sure to go check them out on Twitter and definitely try them out. Again, go Vols, and we'll be there Saturday. So if you see us, say hello.
Hell yeah.